You're on your bed.
Okay. I am
He's
on
on
my
his
bed.
bed. He's on his bed. Good
I
evening,
am,
good
yeah.
afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It must be evenings. Must be evenings somewhere in the world.
Yes,
Does that mean
always.
does that mean it's time for a beer already? Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Sorry, last minute technical issues.
Good afternoon,
And
guys.
welcome back to another edition of Niel and Robbie's Ultra Cycling Podcast. Robbie, how are you?
Um, I'm I'm good.
Other than
I'm good.
lying on your bed, like the unprofessional.
Honestly, do you know what? It's just been a really long few days. Like, I've been so busy with like just general life stuff, and nothing has gone to plan. Like recently, like the last couple of days, but it's all seems to be sorted, and I'm happy now. So, how are you? More importantly,
I am very good, actually. Very
cool,
good indeed.
cool.
Lockdown is meaning I'm continuing to do all my riding on Zwift, despite
Yes, yeah. You're
being
you're the
allowed
king of the Zwift at the minute.
outside. Yeah, I did.
Mm.
I did the
Uber
full.
pretzel.
No, I haven't done the Uber pretzel yet. I've done the mega pretzel. I did the full PRL Ride London route last week with one of my
Was
clients,
it good?
Carolyn. Or Carolyn did the full one with me. I had many people join me for some of it. It was
Mm.
pretty brutal, yeah. 7 hours on the turbo trainer.
Nice, nice. 7 hours. That is
Yeah,
more than what I've ever done.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
done.
There was a
Good.
little bit of chafing. It had to be said after that.
Yeah, it's because you get so sweaty on it. It's really quite painful, isn't it? Like as bad
Would
as
you
that
guess
sounds.
how? Have a guess how many times I had to change shorts?
None.
Twice. I went through 3 pairs of
Twice.
shorts on that ride. Yeah,
Really? That's
yeah,
crazy. I just use a bit of
mate.
Sudocreme.
I had Sudocreme on. I was literally swimming
Yes.
off the bike. I was
Bloody
that bad.
hell.
I was that sweaty.
Bloody hell. Crazy. But yeah, no,
How
apart
are
from
you?
that, my new
How are you?
bike has
Yeah.
turned up.
Are we allowed to talk about your new bike yet?
We can talk about it. And did you get the pictures I sent you earlier?
I did get the pictures that you sent me earlier. Yes.
They
I
are.
think Robbie.
They will go live in like 2 hours. So if you can share them, then brilliant, and give all the viewers here a first look at my new bike, then you're welcome to. But if not, it's going to be on my Instagram about 5 o'clock.
Are we allowed to talk about what make your new bike is now?
Yes, and one thing, if you've got the time, if you go on the Richie Logic website, there is a big article. I moved over to Richie from Linsky, which is super exciting. So that is something I've had in the pipeline for, what, 2 months now? And I wanted to come away from Linsky. There's not anything wrong with their bikes. They make amazing bikes, but I just kind of fancied a change. I wanted to be a bit more involved with the brand, and I wasn't really as involved with Linsky as I wanted to be. So, literally, long story cut short, I had an opportunity to go over to Richie, and I took it. And my new bike turned up like 2 days ago. It's built, and it's really cool. And it's steel. It looks proper badass, and I haven't really ridden it yet. So, yeah, we will see. I can't
So you've
wait
no
to.
idea what it rides like, but it looks cool.
It's
And
long.
like I
It is 16 mil longer than the last one. It's huge. It's so when you see the pictures, you'll just sit like look to the front to the back. It's really long.
Did you have a bike fit, Robbie? Are you sure this thing
No,
fits you properly?
it will. It will. But
Like,
it's long.
like
But
it was
anyway,
60 mil longer. 60.
no, 16. 16.
That's
No,
still a
no, no.
lot.
No. It's 16 mil longer than the previous Outback model. But have a look at the length of the bike. You'll know what I mean.
We need
You'll
to
know what
look
I
at
mean.
this. Robbie's
It
going to be
looks
stretched
awesome.
out like Graham Abbree, Superman
No,
style, isn't
no.
he? I'm not
Oh
sure that'll
no,
work on an
I
ultra race.
no. But
Cue,
it looks
cue
cool.
back pain
But
and whinging from Robbie. I had to
I
explain to
do
you who
need.
Richie were. Robbie was like, "Have you heard of Richie?" And I'm like, "What do you mean have I heard of Richie?" I'm like, "Richie, I'm an old school mountain biker. So to an old school mountain biker, this is like, they made some of the primo steel
Oh,
frames."
Can I
And
actually say?
it looks classic Ritchie. It's got the little
Yeah.
the seat stays come into the seat post clamp,
Yeah. I
and
know that is
it
so cool.
just looks
It's.
beautiful.
Do you know what? I'm a bit thrown off by just how nice it is. Like I thought it was going to be cool, but when it turned up and it was all like you say, the seat clamp is in the actual frame, and it's so light, so much lighter than I thought it was going to be, and I'm a bit like taken away because all I've ridden for the last 3 years is Linskys. So to come to something else, which is a bit more high end, I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful, and it's the color is guacamole. That is
I
what
wouldn't.
that's the
I didn't
color.
realize it was guacamole. I would have just said green. Green will do. It's
It's
green, but it
guacamole.
actually
It's
doesn't
green,
look too bad. To say it's green, it doesn't look too bad.
and it's on tab wool tires now as well, which looks
Mate,
cool.
you're getting down with the cool kids with your tan wall tyres.
It's a mix of new stuff and old school looking stuff. It's cool. I'm really happy. I'm just a bit gutted because today's a sad day. Today was the day that I should have started the race around the Netherlands, but
But yeah, of
I'm
course, May the 1st.
yeah, so, yeah, May first. So that's a real shame, but it is what it is, and obviously the world's in a bit of a funny place now. So this has to be done, but I'm still a little bit gutted because I just would have loved to do that ride. And I someone said to me 2 days ago, "Oh, you'd be getting to Holland about this time," and I was like, "What?" And they were like, "For the Netherlands race," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, maybe so." And they go, "Are you going to do it on your turbo instead?" And I was like, "No."
No,
I'm not.
no
I'm not.
chance.
I'm not going to do it on my
Not a
turbo.
chance in hell. Someone said to me after doing 7 hours doing the Ride London course, "Oh, you're going to do
Yeah.
like the virtual race across America?" I'm like, "Am I?
That-
No chance.
I,
No,
I'd rather
nothing
hands and clap.
on this planet would get me
Yeah.
on a bike for that long.
But you know,
It'd be
I
miserable."
enjoy Zwift and I like the turbo, but I have about 6 hour limit, and then I'm like, I'd rather go.
I tell you what, I am absolutely loving Zwift at the moment.
Yeah, you look like you are actually.
Really, really enjoying it. It's a great, especially with Zoom calls as well. It's a great way to have social rides. It's a great way to kind of do rides with clients, things like that. So yeah, it's just been
Can I
really
ask?
enjoying it.
Can I ask? In the future, you as a coach, do you
Yeah.
feel as though you're gonna use Zwift a lot more with your clients? So obviously you used to go out and ride with a lot of your clients when you were in Dubai. Do you feel now that with your this COVID happening and you going on Zwift more, this is something that you'll really say to the clients, get on Zwift and we can ride together and I can have a look at your
Um,
data as you're riding. Is that something that's going to help you a lot?
I think it will. So I've always the integration between Zwift and Training Peaks has always been really, really good. In that if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
set somebody a structured workout or a power-based structured workout in Training Peaks, and they have connected
Then
it to their
it's
Zwift account, then the ride, as you know, the ride automatically comes across to Zwift. You get on, you select
yes,
the
yeah,
ride,
yeah,
you set your FTP, and boom, you ride it, and that's great
yeah.
because as a coach, you know that someone's either going to do it or not do it. There's no kind of real uh, variation in how well did you do it. It's just
True.
it's pretty binary. It was a yes or a no. But I have
Yeah,
to say, the being able to ride with people, to talk to people, and we would just have a good chat. You know, I'm coaching quite a lot of quite experienced riders. You know, including yourself, Robbie. So it's a great
mm,
chance for everybody to get together and have a chat and talk about
yeah.
things. And
Well,
so I think definitely I will continue to do a lot more Zwifting, especially because I work with people all around the world, and it's a great way of getting everybody together.
yeah.
I think there's
It's
also
nice.
some really good tools coming up. I was looking at some of the stuff that Yasmin's doing because she's coaching as well. She's using Road Around Tours, but
RG. That's it.
there's something called
RGT.
Xert, I think it is, which allows you
Mm,
to overlay multiple people's power data into your screen. So I'm going to be looking into that as well and seeing how that will work.
yeah,
But for the moment, we're just all enjoying riding around on Zwift, ticking off
yeah.
routes. Although I still need to figure out when you get the route badge and when you don't get the route badge. So if anybody knows, because I think if you do a meetup ride with no drop turned on, you don't get PRs and you don't get the route badge, I don't think. So we'll see.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
That's my.
Good. No, you look like you're loving it.
And obviously there was a patch this morning, or an update to Zwift today, which just caused carnage with a lot of people. Loads of people couldn't get on. So it was just too much riding around today, but I loved it.
I jumped on for a bit because I had a delivery today of a table and chairs, and the delivery driver said, sorry? Yeah, the delivery driver was like, oh, I'll be there at 8:30. You know, when you can track your driver. Yeah, and just get this, I will be honest here, I wasn't very happy, name and shame, DX group, that they said they're going to be here between 8:30 and 9:30, and he actually parked at the end of my road, parked here on his route, and then just went and did all his other drops and came back to us like last. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, you're 4 hours after, and it wasn't even
4 hours.
Sorry, I'm late.
Hey,
and
at least it turned up. At least it turned up. At least it wasn't Yodel.
Exactly. So I sat there this morning, and do you know what the most annoying thing about it was? My dog's just turned. The most annoying thing about it was when he turns up, I'm sitting there ready to just go, come on, mate, you're a little bit late. And he was just the nicest guy ever. And I was just like, and he just goes, hello, how are you? And all this. And I was just like, you haven't apologised, but you're just too nice that and I was like, would you like a hand with that, buddy? You know what I mean? So I kind of got instantly shut down by how pleasant this guy was and how
That's
polite.
not a bad thing, is it?
No. I feel for delivery drivers at the minute, though, because
Laura's
they
got
must be
delivery.
getting an accident.
Yeah, there must be. Laura's got delivery arriving soon. She's just ordered a saxophone. So I think I'm going to need to order many pairs of earphones to block out the noise. She says that if she puts a sock down it, then it won't sound so loud, but I don't believe her. We're going to send her into the garden to practice. Actually,
I'd love to do a podcast, on the actual decibel noise of turbos, because my turbo is so loud, man. I should put it down the stairs.
We could do that. That should be a fairly easy thing to do. I'm sure.
Get a decibel meter on my phone. And then
I'm sure you can do it with a microphone, can't you?
You probably can, but it is
I've got enough microphones kicking around now, so I'll go and have a look. Anyway, we have rambled on for a whole 12 and a half minutes. What are we talking about today, Robbie?
We are talking about commonly made bikepacking mistakes we've made over time. So
excellent, and
I'll be leading the majority of this.
Well, I'm not too sure about that, Robbie. As you know, a few people have made some pretty obvious comments to me this morning about bikepacking mistakes. Before we go into that, let's just say a quick hello to everybody. Hello to everybody who's watching live. And if you're watching this not live and you're watching this tomorrow or the day after, then hello anyway. If you are watching it late, don't bother doing the real-time commenting because it won't work. But do leave a comment below so that we can see what your great mistakes are. And hopefully everybody on here, so we got Christoph, we got Alex, we got Lindsay, Bastiès, I think that's Sebastian, Peter, Rob, how are you?
Says hello.
Great to see you, Rob. Alex, Kai, you're a legend. Lindsay's already said that as well. Lindsay says, I'm looking, right, here we go. We'll just quickly go through some of these. I'm looking at VRAM as a possibility, but Lindsay, I think you've got more screws loose than I have, so that doesn't surprise me. Tony says, hi, lads. Brett says hi, and Christoph says hi. And Peter says, they make sax mutes. Laura didn't tell me that.
Because
I'm going to be on Amazon the minute we hang up. I'm going to be ordering one of those. How much does it mute it? Let me know. Comment below. How much does a sax mute a sax? I'm learning to play the piano, but it's like on a MIDI keyboard through my iPad. So I just plug my headphones in, and the house is none the wiser that I'm completely butchering
until you get on your turbo. Mate, my turbo, like my neighbours, I'm shocked. I'm moving house soon, and like the funniest thing is my neighbours. I think they must hate me, but they're such lovely people. But they turned round and they said to me, this was probably 2 weeks after I got my turbo, and they were like, "You guys use the washing machine a lot." I was like, no. I was like, they just go, I go for
Yep,
a turbo, and they go,
I have a
yeah,
special
like,
6-hour washing cycle. My clothes are very dirty.
can I just say, do you know we do this clapping for the NHS every Thursday night now at 8 o'clock?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway, the last
yeah.
2 weeks we've been going out and clapping, and everyone, because my dog goes bonkers when everyone's clapping, it's barking,
I,
and there was 3 people last night that turned around and went, "Hello, Ivy," that just live on our street, that just know my dog because it's
so
the
I
barking.
obviously Laura is in the NHS, and Rhonda, who is part of the family we're living with at the moment, she's a doctor in the NHS, and they were reading an article this morning that's basically saying, don't clap, don't bother clapping, that doesn't really help, stay home.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
don't go out
Yeah,
on the
I get
streets.
that. I get that.
Clapping does nothing, and it's all just big misdirection.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I
don't
like,
clap.
yeah,
Do things
like,
that really add value to helping them all out. Anyway, that's about as political as we're going to get today, isn't it?
yeah.
Right. Apparently, it does mute the saxophone a lot.
Perfect. That's good news.
That's what we'll
I'm
say.
not.
So,
Is that what everyone came on to hear?
well, and Kai says, put your turbo on a sports mat, helps with reducing the Hoover sounding vibrations from spreading in the building. Now, we just put ours on a load of matting today, and it actually makes for quite a nice, there's just a little bit of flex in it, feels a little bit more like riding a bike. It was quite nice.
I was actually going to. There was 2 things that I want to talk about turbo wise. I was actually going to bring mine down the stairs onto my tiled floor and then put a mat on that so it's more grounded. Because if not, it feels like it's to the house.
Yeah,
And
that might work.
you know what? Francis Cade. Have you seen his
Yes.
platform?
He
That's
bought
cool.
he bought a rocker board.
This is it. I'm
I
I'm
think
quite curious to
I
see
think
this.
Nikki. I was chatting to Nikki Shaw the other day. Because she's one of my clients. She's just ordered one, so I'm going to talk
Yeah,
to her as soon as she's
I
got that.
wouldn't mind.
I'm going to see how
Just for the
that is.
climbing. I don't really enjoy getting out the saddle on my turbo because you just don't really feel like you're getting anything from it. So a rocker board
Do
is
you know?
kind of.
I do. I quite enjoy it.
I
Makes me
I
feel like I'm
rarely,
outside on a proper bike.
99% of the time I'm seated. Like, yeah, it's probably that much, 99%. So yeah, it's good.
Right.
Anyways, we
We're
must
going to
chat
talk
about
about great ultra racing mistakes, and I think what I
how
would
many
say is,
did you write down? Because I think this is going
well,
to
I
be a
wrote
good
down a few, but
indication.
then I got sidetracked and went on the turbo instead. But I have kind of got a lot of them memorised. They're kind of
Okay.
burnt into my memory. Now there is a good reason for talking about our mistakes, because mistakes are how we learn. When you make a mistake, you learn from it, and in theory, you don't do it again. Failure is a great teacher, and if you go through an ultra race and you don't make any mistakes, then A, I don't believe you, but B, you won't have learned as much as kind of what situation normal is, which is you go in with this grand plan of how you're going to do, and then you balls it up from day one. Which
That's true.
starts with probably the most common mistake that I know I've made a lot, and I'm probably less sure whether you've made this one. The most common mistake, and I've definitely done this on a number of races, is going out far too hard.
Okay. Yeah,
Have you ever
yeah,
done
I've
this?
done this. Yes. So actually, I had when I first started, I had a few bad trips where I was just going in too hard on the first couple of days, and I really suffered for it.
I thought you
So
were going to talk about a bad batch
I
of
don't
acid or something.
know. I tend not to go out too hard, but I tend to go on for too long and always go through the first night, which isn't actually the best plan of action all the time. But I remember you telling me about Viking Man Corsica, the last one you did, and you were sitting at threshold for absolutely
Yeah,
ages.
first hour threshold, or first
Yeah.
45 minutes at threshold, and we still had Lord knows how many
2 days to
kilometres
go.
ride. Still had 650k to go, and still another kind of 10,000 meters of climbing. Yeah, I did it there. Biking Man Portugal was ridiculous start. I think I was probably. I was a little bit overconfident coming out of TCR with a lot of fitness, but again, and Lindsay, who's on this, will know it was an insane start, and I think I averaged. I think I was like my intensity factor, or kind of my average percentage of threshold for that first 15-hour stint was something like 72% of threshold for 15 hours.
72%.
And of course that's unsustainable, and then you crash really badly, or your power just drops off insanely.
Where your throat goes dry and you're like,
oh yeah. So and I do actually, I spend a lot of time talking to my clients about pacing. A really good pace is about 55% of threshold. So if you can hit your normalized power at the end of the first 12 hours, be about 55%, then you'll be able to keep that going. And ultra racing is all about keeping the pace going for, consistently for 2, 3, 4, 10 days, whatever. There's no point going out, blasting out the blocks, and then blowing up, because you'll just not get anywhere. Races are never won in the first day. You could lose them in the first day, but you ain't going to win it in the first day. So I've made that mistake. Look, Alex says he's guilty of this. To be honest, I think we are all guilty of this at some time. Lindsay, who was indeed on that Biking Man Portugal, says 300 watts following the neutral car. Yeah, exactly. And then, Lindsay, I'll take you back to Oman this year, going up that first climb. I stupidly sat in your wheel. Stupidly, because we were both sweating like ridiculous, because it was hot and sticky and humid. So I got a free shower, thanks Lindsay. But also I was doing like 270 watts in your wheel, and I'm going, this is crazy. But it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop yourself doing that mistake. So
do you know what? When I was racing in the Netherlands last year, I had said to myself, pace, gone through the night. And remember you mentioned earlier, Jasmine? I remember her and a guy called Hippie going past me on a straight at about 8 o'clock the next morning. And they'd both been up all night as well. And they breezed past me. And I felt like I was putting down 300 watts. And they came past me like they were doing 10. And I was like, there's definitely something wrong here. I was destroyed. I was broken. I'd sit down for an hour.
I think that's a similar to going out too hard is to try and go
too far.
Too far. If it's a long race, I think if it's a 2-day race, then you probably shouldn't be. You're probably not going to be sleeping anyway. But 10-day race, like to try and to put yourself right into a sleep hole at the beginning is probably not the most sensible of ideas.
The winner slept on the first night as well. He stayed up the last night but slept on the first.
Yeah, exactly.
Goes to show.
You win a race in the last 10k, not the first 10k, or in an ultra race you win it in the last kind of 24 hours, not the first 24 hours.
The last 1,000
right.
days.
So that's yeah. Well, yeah. Look, and as he says, people were flying past us. They were indeed. Alex, it's so tempting to go hard from the. It is tempting to go hard from the gun, and I think I
think I've lost Niel.
No, I'm still here. We've lost
Neil,
Robbie.
You're there. You're still.
I am here, Robbie. Can everybody hear me?
Oh, okay. You're back.
Yay! Hooray!
Yes. Okay.
What did I miss? It's tempting to go hard from the gun, but you have to play the long game. You have to understand what the pace is, and that's why I find power meters really, really useful, because you can keep a lid on it a little bit easier, because you look down and you go, right, well, I know I'm doing 75% of FTP, which is normally just a nice gentle endurance pace. It's kind of upper endurance pace, which is fine for 6 hours, whatever, but it's too hard for an ultra race. And you can look down and go, no, I'm going to rein that back in. And I think the challenge comes when you see people flying past you. They all come back. They always come back, unless they were going to beat you anyway, which I've seen. Sorry, go on.
Just out of curiosity, could I throw something out there? But I'm quite a keen dot watcher. And you see that, like, even guys like James Hayden, Bjorn, and all these people, they still go quite strong at the start because they seem to always be at the front of the pack, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so whether
Well,
they're just incredibly strong riders or they're just pacing that, or they're just super
well,
efficient,
I mean,
they're
they're
just
both
always in front.
they are both incredibly strong riders. I think I have seen some stuff
Sophie
from
and
I have seen some stuff from James where he talks about he never wants to get to the first checkpoint in the lead. Like, if you've watched him closely over the last kind of couple of years, he doesn't go off too hard. Sofiane as well. Sofiane's unique quality has been able to ride without sleep. So Sofiane will never be. He'll be maybe 15th after 6 hours, but then after 2 days, when everybody else has slept for a while, he's got 5 hours in the lead. Now Bjorn did go off really, really hard on this year's TCR. And suffered because he got really bad saddle sores. Fiona didn't go off too hard.
That's just unlucky, isn't it?
Kept it nice and paced. Well, is it? I don't know. The harder you go, the more you sweat, the more frictional forces you're going to have going through your derriere.
Derriere.
It all will come back to bite you in the end. Right. What's your first error? Your big mistake?
So, I've got so many. Like, I wrote 10 down.
Oh my god! If we're going to talk 10, then I hope everybody's getting comfortable and everybody's got a beer in, because
they're a lot, like, they're not massive errors. They're like all tiny little stupid things I've done over the duration of my bike packing journey.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but we might not get through 10. So why don't you pick your top 3?
Actually, can I get all the silly ones out the way with first?
Go on then.
The ones that take you 30 seconds. Okay, let me just, I've got these all in my notes, so let me just go to my notes quickly. Okay, so, rightio, here we go. So, oh god, this isn't working. Okay, so...
No, we've lost you.
The amount... Okay, are there?
No video.
Okay, I'm back. There we go.
He's back.
Here we go, I'm back. So, okay, I've just clocked a few there. The first one is the first silly one, and probably the one I'm least proud of, was I used to work in a bike shop, and they used to give things of chamois away, muck off chamois, and some other stuff like, hand cleaner, deep heat, stuff like that, Sudocrem, all in these funky little things. And I remember once, and I was away on like a week's trip, and I misread the packet and I put deep heat where chamois should have been, and that was one of the most painful ever bike packing mistakes.
Oh,
that was awful. Yeah, I was washing it off in a forest in rain. It was just, but imagine that after 3 days riding, like that was just, it was horrible. 4 hours I was in like agony. Or I was just holding my...
Oh, no, please tell me. Has anybody else done that? Has anybody else put deep heat?
Probably not.
All over their knackers instead of some Sudocrem or some chamois cream.
I thought I was just cut. No, it was awful.
Really?
The next silly one was I was in Biking Man Corsica, and I was at the top of this climb. We had probably about a day to go. We were on I was probably in the last 200k, and I was really tired, really dehydrated, really hungry, and I remember it started to get to night, and I thought I better get my food. So I went to the supermarket, bought a load of food, and I got the food out. And I'm quite bad with eating. Like I get really conscious of what I eat and if I should eat it. And I read the date on my food, but I got my months middled up. We were in April, but I mixed up March and May. So I looked at all my food, read the sell-by dates, and obviously it's in French, so I didn't really understand what was March and what was May, and I threw all my food away, thinking it was out of date, and had to go into the night with no food. And it was a public holiday in France. I had every energy gel, everything. I was even scraping biscuits out the bottom of my bag
Oh,
in that
what were you
night.
like,
That
kind of
was
trying to
awful.
turn your food pouch inside out to
Yeah,
kind of lick the
yeah. I
crumbs
was
off?
in such a mess, and I remember the next morning, like, because I'd gone through that whole night. The next morning, I've never felt so poorly from not eating, and even just super dehydrated. But there was just nothing open. There was no. I would have happily knocked on someone's door and asked for water and food. It was embarrassing. That was
Oh, welcome to
awful.
France. Welcome to France on a
Yeah.
public holiday. It's
Yep.
yeah, it's pretty much
The
locked down. Lockdown
and
city.
the third and final one, and probably the one that I want to talk a little bit more about, is not buying enough water and food. I do it so much. I'll get to a shop and I'll be like, oh, I'll get an ice cream, a sandwich, and I'll get this. Then, oh, yeah, I'll only need a litre and a half of water. When actually, I've always underfueled. You should get to a shop and be like, okay, so I've got another 5 hours, so for my next stop, so I better have a litre and a half to go in my bottles, and then I need another bottle of water to drink some now. And then what I'll do is I'll take that extra little bit and I'll keep the bottle in my back pocket. It's about, I'm not sure if longevity is the word, but making sure you've got enough to last you. I used to just go into a shop and be like, I need water and food. Big bottle of water, a little bit of food, then go. Then 3 hours later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah,
destroyed. I need
yeah,
to stop
yeah, yeah,
again.
yeah.
And
And
this is such a common mistake that I used to
yeah,
make. Now I'm a lot better. I go in and I plan for the next stint, but before I never used to. Never
I
used to.
think some of that just comes from experience. You build more process into how you do these things, and
Yeah,
you know what you need to do. You know you need to buy enough food to last you 6 hours
yeah,
because that's kind of how far you can go, or 8 hours, or what whatever that distance is.
yeah,
And I think we've probably all been there where we go into a supermarket and we walk around and we kind of forget what we want to buy, and we spend like 20 minutes looking around before you walk out
yeah.
with half the food you should have done. Um,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Having lists, I like to have lists on my phone, so like I can go
Do you
in
know
and go
what?
right, yeah, 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 6 hours, right, that much water, yeah, and away you go.
I think the easiest place to do this, and this was a great one. You remember when we raced Biking Man Taiwan, and we
Yes,
so the 7-Elevens, because they were so uniform that they were pretty much the same stock in each one. I got to the point after the first day. I'm going to go in. I'm going to have these two sandwiches, two ice creams. I'm going to buy a bag of Haribo and two chocolate bars, and then fill up with water. And then I knew if I did that every 5 or 6 hours, that was pretty much enough
yeah.
to keep me
No, and
going.
again,
And it
that's
was just so easy.
you get the process, and if it's a
Mm.
process, it's harder to get the process wrong. If you're trying to make it up from scratch each time, then it is definitely going to go wrong.
But I just, you know what? If Biking Man Taiwan is just an incredible race. There's so much open. It's so beautiful. It's so safe. If someone said to me, "What's the ultra race to do right now?" I'd probably say go to Taiwan. Biking Man Taiwan's an incredible
Yeah,
one.
I
I'm
can
not sure
imagine.
what it's like this year because it
It's
just
not
got
happening
tougher
this
and
year.
tougher.
Oh,
Is
last
it
year it
not?
was
Mm.
last year it was hard. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Axel really
our year was
really
great
made
though.
it difficult.
The year
I
we
imagine
did
so.
it.
I imagine somewhere like the Japanese Odyssey is going to be equally good in terms of being able to get
Mm,
amazing food 24 hours a day in the 7-Elevens
yeah,
and Family Marts. Okay,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
number
yeah,
two of your simple mistakes, and again, I can really kind of identify with that one. I've definitely done that.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think probably that's it goes into a lot of things. Like I think I hate to say, and if there's one absolutely mega bit of bike packing advice I can give to everyone, like fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Like it's completely. You don't set your bike up properly, you're gonna suffer. You don't take the right stuff, you're gonna suffer. You don't get what you need when you stop to eat, you're gonna suffer. Everything is preparation. You just need to make sure that you're prepared for each stint,
Yeah.
and that is one thing
Well,
that someone. What's the advice? Best advice you can give? I said it's not about the quickest bike. It's not about being the fittest. It's just about thinking straight and preparing. That's half the battle.
I think that's probably, this is not necessarily a mistake I've made because I usually carry more than I need rather than less than I need. Is I have, I'm not going to name names, but you guys know who you are. Um, I've seen people really take far too little stuff because they think that 500 grams of weight difference is going to matter. Now, on an ultra race, 500 grams makes
It's nothing.
nothing at all. Now, there's one of the websites out there, I think is it Chris White's website, which links to a load of others, which looks at the impact of weight on over the course of an ultra race. And I think if you were carrying 3 kilos extra on a TCR, it would cost you 3 hours or 4 hours.
Which
now,
is that?
I have a few issues with the physics involved, and I think there's a few holes in the working out. But broadly, it's going to cost you maybe 3 to 6 hours over the course of a 12 to 13 day race. And if you then look at somebody, the race in question I'm thinking of is Corsica a couple of years ago. If you're not taking a thermal or a few extra bits of warm clothing, which is going to be 400 to 500 grams. Now, over the course of a race like Corsica, which is only 700 kilometers and 12,000 meters of climbing, that's probably going to cost you maybe an hour at best, at worst, sorry, an hour, maybe less. But these guys did say, well, we're going to go super light because that's quickest. And the next thing you know, they're sleeping in vans because they're too cold, or they're sleeping in hotels because they're too cold. And they did not have the kit that allowed them to keep going. And I do see people obsess a little bit too much about weight, and actually carrying that extra piece of warm clothing could make the difference between sitting in a cafe shivering to warm up for an hour versus carrying on riding. And just in that one instance, you've gained all your time, and you will stay more comfortable, you'll stay warmer, and you'll have a better outcome.
Do you know, I hate to say this, but when I was first started, I went on this trip, and I think I still have it actually, and it was going all the way to Alpe d'Huez, and I went from London, I went in winter, and I took a hoodie with me, and I used it. I thought, I shouldn't take this, I'll be warm because I'm riding. I used it every single day just to stay warm, just as a layer. It was the best thing I think I've ever taken on a trip. It's just been that I questioned at the start, took it, and I used it every day. It was great, and I still to this day, I have that hoodie. It's a bit too small for me now, but still.
Well, my favourite bit of kit is I have a Big Agnes kind of really lightly insulated gilet that I wear, and it can be the difference between carrying on or stopping. Like, I remember on that same Corsica race, I had this, and I had just a simple thermal top, and the two bits together added up to like 350 grams. But it took it just allowed me to keep riding through the night when temperatures got down to 0, and I was just about comfortable rather than being really freezing cold and shivering.
But I'm a great example when I talk about the Netherlands last year. I went with leg and arm warmers, but really thin summer leg and arm warmers. I didn't take a down jacket. I wore summer clothes all round. And when I got to the start line, I'm looking around at everyone thinking, why are they wearing overshoes? Why have they got such thick gloves? I had gloves with me. And do you know what? I can honestly say, one morning I didn't get out of bed for an hour and a half because I was so cold and everything was like semi-frozen outside. One point I stopped for an hour and a half because I was too cold in the morning. One point I spent an hour wrapping a plastic bag around my fingers and then putting a cheap glove on. I lost to that cold at least 3 hours pissing about wasting time. Then I lost more time because my body was so inefficient because I was cold. Worst thing out the whole thing.
And like the Netherlands is a flat race, so actually having a couple of kilos of extra weight would have made very little difference at all. But I mean, Lindsay makes a valid point in the comments The winner in a man carried all of his food for the whole thing and hardly stopped. So, yeah, probably had a lot of weight on his bike to start with, and of course the climbing is all in the early half of a man, and it just goes to show you that thinking ahead, not obsessing about weight, and thinking about how's my strategy going to work, what's going to happen, leads to a good outcome. Same thing happened with James Hayden in Silk Road Mountain Race last year. He started with all of his food for a 6-day race, and were it not for the getting held up by bandits, then I think he's very likely could well have won that. And his bike was 30 kilos to start with. Although, Robbie, on your comments about the cold, Stephen says, to be fair, a lot of us got caught out by the cold nighttime temperatures in race around the Netherlands. But Stephen, did you have to buy a lovely pair of ladies' gloves like Robbie did?
I did, yeah. That was one of my proudest moments when I bought a pair of ladies' gloves just to get to the end. And I remember my dad was in the Netherlands at the time, and he rang me, or I rang him like a few days in, and he just goes, "Are you okay?" And I said to him, "Dad, I don't think I can do this anymore." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "My knees hurt so much because they've been so cold." And I said, I know I'm going to have problems after this race because my knees just hurt too much. And he goes, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I can't feel my feet. I can't feel my hands." I said, "I'm just miserable." And I said, "The annoying thing is I'm trying to ride as much as I can in the day, so when I do go to sleep at night, I'm warm." But I just said, I've really messed this up. And then, the annoying thing is, because the race will probably be later this year, it'll be warmer. But I just sat there thinking, if I could go back, because I was so inefficient riding, pissed about so much to try and stay warm, I reckon I lost 6 to 8 hours because of a huge kit mistake, which is just terrible. And I think you have to make these mistakes to realise the repercussions later.
Yeah. So there we go. Advice: 500 grams will not make any difference to your race, and it's much more likely to have a positive impact than a negative impact. Robbie, what's your next mistake?
Here's another interesting. Honestly, my next mistake's a good one, and I want you to talk about a mistake after this one.
Okay.
So my next mistake was not checking my kit. I went to Corsica with tubeless tyres, and I did the first 8-9 hours, and I had a problem with one of the valves because it kept leaking. You remember beforehand it kept leaking? So I thought I'm going to have to put a tube in because I couldn't even pump the tyre up at this point. So I went to put a tube in and realised I'd got short valve tubes instead of long valve. All I had was one manky old backup tube that I put in and got to the first checkpoint. I found a place for another tube and realised I had to do... Then I got a puncture, had to use that tube because it had written off and it was too wet because of the rain to patch it. And I realised I had to do pretty much 70% of Biking Man Corsica with no backup if I had a puncture, bar patches which had been soaked through because the rain was quite bad one day. That was prepare to fail because you took the wrong
I remember you rocking up to the checkpoint because I'd had to do the extension because the road was closed for a while and then it was open again, and I arrived in a foul mood, and then you rock up and you're just covered head to foot in sealant like you'd been in some dodgy porn film or something.
Awful. It was awful.
And you're cursing and swearing at your sealant and your tubeless. Although I'd say I would never do anything other than tubeless. Why anybody would ride tubes these days, I have no idea whatsoever. However, similar to that, I realised about 3 or 4 months after Inca Divide, I'd taken mountain bike size inner tubes, like 26-inch inner tubes or 27.5. I didn't have the right size of inner tube to fit my wheels and tyres.
No.
So I raced the whole of Inca Divide effectively with no inner tubes.
That is hilarious. It's stupid. Hilarious.
Absolutely.
When you looking back, that's hilarious. But at the time, that would have been a big worry. A really big
Yeah,
area.
yeah, that would have been taxi
That'd been
home.
no. Well,
Yeah, no, I just
taxi. Yeah.
for some reason I had to look them out or dig them out, and I got them out. I was like, oh, that would have been pretty terminal at 5,000 meters in the Andes.
Mate, especially when it gets that cold. That's
I'm an idiot.
but
Yeah.
but we all
Right.
make these
Anyway,
mistakes.
we do. This is why we're talking about them, so that you can all learn from our
Yeah.
stupidity. Do as we say, not as we do, and all that kind of stuff. Right, Robbie, you said you wanted me to do one after this. You kind of implied that you knew a mistake that I'd made that you wanted me
Yeah,
to talk about. Are
I
you going to give me
think
any
we
clues?
should. Yeah, I think we should let the cat out amongst the pigeons. And although I mentioned this way more than I should, how about you tell us another vital piece of equipment that I would take
Vital
on a
piece of, well, I mean, this is the big elephant in the room, isn't it?
This is the big element.
As more than one person has pointed out on the internet
Yeah.
today.
I don't want to talk about it because I like the awkwardness.
Always. Well, hang on, just always.
I bet you there's some comments with it in already.
Always carry a spare derailleur hanger, because you never know what's going to happen in the middle of Austria on a balmy July evening.
Yes, yeah. That is.
I don't think we need to talk about this one. I think this mistake is well documented and well known across the ultra racing universe. Yeah. Yes. So hang on, Eric. Eric says derailleur or hanger. Hanger. There is. Go and scroll down through YouTube until you get to kind of episode 11 of the TCR series, which talks about Hangergate. For those of you who don't know this story, which surprises me because I've told pretty much everybody, the short version is,
if you haven't, I have.
I got to day, I think it was day 5 or day 6. I think it was day 5 of TCR. Anyway, day 5. Riding through Austria. Just get to Austria. I'd already done the whole kind of gout in my toe, stop at a hospital for a steroid injection, misery. Anyway, so was getting back on track. Got into Austria. Was riding down a bike path, and then realised I had to turn I was coming down like this, and I had to go come sharp and back up a steep incline. I was in the wrong gear, and I run DI2, and I just stupidly pressed and held the shifter in, and of course I'm grinding away at like 3 RPM, and so the rear mech is trying to push as the chain is still not quite engaged on the next cassette or cog up the cassette, and so all it did was it burnt the servo out. Completely my own fault. If I'd have pressed it once, waited for the chain to engage, pressed it again, waited, pressed it again, waited, I'd have been fine. But no, I just sat there like a tired idiot that I was with the button pressed in, and it completely blew the servo in my rear mech. So went to Klagenfurt that night in single speed mode, which included me walking up hills, which was hilarious because I couldn't ride up because the gear was too hard, and I couldn't walk up because I had gout in my toe. So I must have looked like a real, I don't know, just idiot, hobbling, pushing my bike up these inclines. It was crazy. And anyway, made it to Klagenfurt, too late for the bike shop. Found a hotel, stayed overnight. Bike shop opened at 9:30. Went down the bike shop. I got there at 9:15. Bike shop was shut. So I thought I'd grab a coffee. Went over the road, grab a coffee. And in the interim, somebody else from TCR came in, and they didn't accept that the bike shop was shut and started banging on the door until somebody opened it up. So they jumped, they got my place in the queue. So I waited patiently, and eventually they saw me, and I was like, I burnt the servo out. Yeah, okay, but we want to go and check the firmware and check this and check that. I said, I burnt the servo out. No, we need to check, as if to kind of imply that I didn't have a clue what I was talking about. Anyway, half an hour later they go, sir, you've burnt the servo out, we need to find a new derailleur for you. And no, really, no shit, Sherlock. So anyway, luckily they had one, and I was overjoyed. Race was back on. I'd lost maybe half a day or something, and I was so happy I offered to buy them all coffee. So I went over the road to buy them coffee and came back in 10 minutes later with 4 coffees, and the mechanic came the other way with half of my derailleur hanger in his hand, saying, well, we thought it needed straightening, so we put the hanger tool on and tried to straighten it, and it snapped. And it's like, oh no.
Then Niel punched him, went to prison for a week, and I know.
You know that moment where everything you've worked for that season, because I'd trained really hard. I'd spent like 4 weeks in the Alps, living like a hermit, training. I was in great shape, and it's just depression, complete depression. But
I feel for you, because that was just
shit happens. So I just had to. I ordered one that afternoon or that morning from Cycle Velo in Belgium. Stefan, I think his name is. He saved my bacon, sent me a new derailleur hanger out, and but it took 4 days. It didn't arrive till Tuesday lunchtime. So yeah, by the time I set off, I was penultimate on the road. So always carry a spare derailleur hanger. Now somebody said, have you ever needed a spare one since? No. I mean, I carry one everywhere. And the next bike I bought, which was a Fairlight Sacan, didn't need one, which I thought was brilliant because it's steel frame. So, you just bend that back to shape if the hanger gets bent. It's not going to snap off. But yeah, no, never needed one. And I doubt I think I will go the rest of my life and never need any of the 3 derailleur hangers I have hanging around my neck. Well, and you know what? In honor of that incident, this Smartwool Llama t-shirt is the t-shirt that I bought in Klagenfurt because I was stuck there for 4 days.
Yeah.
I ate lots of food and I drank some very nice Austrian beer.
Mm. Do you know, I've carried derailleur hangers pretty much for the past 2-3 years. Not obviously when I'm doing non-bike stuff, but like in general, and I've never needed one. Never changed a derailleur hanger. Never needed to. But the minute I go out without one, I know it's just going to go snap.
Do you know the worst thing? The worst thing is Kerry and Chris, to the people I coach, they were off to do the Inca Divide. And I was telling them, make sure you take a spare derailleur hanger.
Yeah.
And I didn't have one. But they are needed. Like Omar, when he was in Rwanda, and if you haven't yet checked out Ryan's film about the race around Rwanda this year called Tugende, which I think means "let's go" in the local dialect, go watch it because it's absolutely amazing. Good. Anyway, Omar was trying to brush up on his mad bunny hopping skills in the middle of the border town with the Republic of Congo on a gravel section, and he messed it up, slipped into fell over and smashed his derailleur hanger, and luckily he had a spare because I told him to carry a spare and he had to fit it.
Yeah.
So it's always carry a spare.
Am I right in saying that derailleur hangers are actually meant to bend under pressure so it protects the derailleur?
Yeah,
so there's more chance of the derailleur lasting than the actual...
They're supposed to break. They are... that is what they are designed to do. They're supposed to break so that if you do drop your bike or you have an accident or what have you, then... I mean, so I run an XTR Di2 rear mech. They're 500 quid.
Yeah.
You don't want to break that, compared to a £20 derailleur hanger. I'll break the derailleur hanger, please. I think the problem was the derailleur hanger on my moots seemed pretty tough and burly compared to. I mean, I used to ride a Cervelo, and if anyone who's listening rides a Cervelo, you'll know that the Cervelo derailleur hangers are made of cheese, and you just need to look at them in the wrong way and they bend. So you always carried a spare one, and the moots one seemed pretty tough and rugged, and for some reason in my head I didn't think I needed it.
The funny thing is, every time I've had a Linsky, every time I've had a Linsky, they give you these massive industrial-sized hangers, and I'm always just like, God, that's overkill for the size of a hanger. But I've never bent one, never broken one. They're incredible.
But they are supposed to break, so
I've got about 6 at home now.
Anyway, let's. Are we done with Hangergate now?
I
Can I
think we
put this to
are.
bed? Will no one ever remind me of
Yeah.
this ever again, please? Right, I'm going to go to the audience now. And Alex says, mistake. Don't sleep on concrete in 4-degree temperature, heavy rain, and expect your knees to survive the next couple of hours climbing. Where was that? That sounds, daft.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
knees are definitely not going to thank you, are they? They're going to be like, no, bugger off. I'm not riding.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Honestly, knees are such a thing in cycling. Like they just everyone has.
I always carry, even if it's going to be a warm race, I'll still carry knee warmers because
Yeah.
just to keep your knees warm.
Do you think the compression of knee warmers helps to an extent? That's a really
Well, it
weird question.
stops them falling down.
Yeah. No, I mean
I don't
like
know.
the compression,
Any physios
like
want to
on the actual.
offer
Yeah.
some
I'd be
advice on
curious
that?
to know the answer to that because
Just
someone said that to me once. I
they
have them
just
because
keep you
they help
warm.
with compression. But yeah, we'll see. What else we got? What else we got in the comments? Da, 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 da.
I think
Yeah,
we've been going
stay
through
on
them as we
topic.
go. So,
Yeah.
well, I think this is Carl talking about when you put deep heat on your balls.
Austria, 3 Peaks bike race. Nice.
Oh,
Hilly.
yeah, very hilly,
Yeah.
painful. Right, Robbie, I've.
Um,
Do you know
can
what?
I?
I'm gonna
I've got a good one.
I'm gonna throw into another one into the mix because after the bearing my soul about Hangergate, another really big mistake was to ride with Robbie anywhere near dogs.
That's a good one. That is actually, yeah, I'll take
Don't
that.
do it. Don't do it because Robbie will
'Cause you'll get
squeal
bitten.
like a child
Yeah.
and try and run away and scare the dog into biting you.
Dogs are hard work. Like,
Anyway,
but actually,
right.
I've got a good one. Taking the wrong bike for the job. When I first started, I knew nothing of cycling. So here's an interesting fact. When I first started ultra, I trained for 3 weeks. Yeah, so I long story cut short, what got me into cycling was I basically my sister's wedding was coming up. I had £100 to my name, wanted to do something really special, so I bought a bike for £20 and cycled a padlock all the way from London to Paris to put it on the Pont de Arts Bridge. And I did this and videoed it for my sister and brother-in-law and sent them the video. It's a bit of a gesture. So I did this, and the first ultra I trained for 3 weeks and went on some old crappy mountain bike where the seat was falling down. Then I thought, I'm getting good at this. I'm going to do some multi-day stuff. And I was on eBay. God, that's carbon. It's got nice wheels. Oh my God, it's a beautiful looking bike. I'm going to buy it. So I bought this bike and I thought, do you know what? This is going to be amazing. It was a Fuji. But someone said to me, why are you doing long distance on a time trial bike? So the next mistake I made for the first 3 or 4 years of ultra riding was taking too aggressive bikes to ultra race all the time, but riding a TT bike to cycle for 10 days is something my back will never forget. That was just hell. That was awful. I've never had such bad back pain
I'm not
from
surprised.
riding a TT bike. It was just
One of
torture.
the comments that came in on my Facebook page when I posted about this early on today was from Simon Knoll, who a friend of mine in Dubai who's raced a couple of times with us in in Oman and Corsica. The second year he did Oman, he raced it on a TT bike and he made it about 22 hours in before Sherman's neck kicked in.
Yeah, I can't believe.
And he lost control of his neck and he's walking around like this. Or trying to ride like this. He just couldn't lift his leg.
But there is nothing like when your neck starts to go, there's no badder feeling like that. Like, I look back now and look at all my setups from previous years and I just noticed, do you know what, I know you have to learn and you have to put that process in place.
No, Robbie, there's a really easy way around this. It's called get a proper bike fit.
I know, but honestly, if that's a really good bit of advice, buy a bike and get a fit which is made for it. Don't just go.
Yes.
A TT will be quick.
fit first, then bike.
But even
Don't buy a
really
bike
good.
and then say, "Could you fit me to this bike?" Because it might be completely wrong for you. Go
But
and get fit
even
first,
really
then buy a bike.
but even really top guys, I've noticed, like top guys, even in these races now, will go in with crazy aggressive setups, and then they'll get Schwarmer's neck. Schwarmer's neck.
Yeah, Schwarmer's
They'll
neck.
get Schwarmer's neck, and then they just get too aggressive. But like that, I don't think the benefit of being that aggressive would actually buy you enough time to win a race anyway.
No,
I think
comfort
you'd be
first
too
of all.
uncomfortable.
It's whatever keeps you on the bike the longest, and that's
Yeah.
rarely being in an aggressive position. So yeah, get a bike fit, preferably before you buy a bike. But if you have already bought your bike, then get the best bike fit you can, because
Do you know what?
it's the most
Actually,
important as an ultra racer. It's the most important thing you can do is be comfortable on your bike. Don't rely on what your mate said about having your saddle higher because it looks pro. It's probably wrong. Anyway,
it's gonna
right.
slam the stem. Yeah, I see that too much. I'm gonna quickly have a look at my other list. Hold there.
Right. Well, whilst that's happening, I'm gonna go back to the comments. Another one from Stephen. Don't drink 2 litres of choco milk in one go and expect your guts to survive. Did you vomit everywhere? I can imagine that would have just brought everything up.
Probably, I bet he bombed. Okay.
And Carl says you should eat a shawarma.
Yes.
You must have eaten a
I've
shawarma.
ever had. I think I have done. Is that like the thing that they put on the spinner and cut off? Is that shawarma? I don't really know what shawarma is. Is that like a doner kebab or something?
Yeah, doner kebab's kind of like in a big open thing. A shawarma, you kind of wrap it up into a tightly packed wrap.
Actually, I've got another funny mistake that I used to make. So I did a whole year with a kit list. This is what I need for when I go away, and I didn't realise I had been going away. This is a good one, with brake cables for a whole year, only to realise at the end of the year someone say, "Why do you take brake cables in your setup?" And I'm like, "In case one of them breaks." And they're like, "You've got hydraulic brakes, Rob." Oh, okay. Yeah, talk to an expert right now. Yeah, I did this for a whole year. I went on six trips.
Are you gonna
6 whole trips.
Are you gonna carry gear cables even when you switch to electric gears?
Yes, definitely. But yeah, I did 6 whole years carrying 6 trips carrying brake cables when I was on hydraulic brakes.
Yeah. Here's a good one. Simon says, on the similar of spare parts, derailleur hanger, spokes, brake pads. Never do anything over 1 day without them.
Actually,
I definitely don't go out. I definitely don't go anywhere without derailleur hanger. Spokes. Yeah. I don't carry spokes. I've broken a spoke. Generally, if you're riding disc brake bike, you can deal with 1 or 2 broken spokes without too much problems. And if you do break a spoke, I'm not going to rethread it in the middle of a race. Brake pads is an interesting one. I think brake pads, especially again, depending on where you go and how long you go for. Let's look at Rwanda. Rwanda was super abrasive. The sand, the dirt, the mud was really abrasive. I took a set of prescription Oakleys and I managed to put a big scratch in them. That's an expensive mistake. And I took a brand new GoPro 8 and the ones where you can't replace the lens cover on it, and of course that's got a few nice little scratches, nothing that would affect it too much at the moment, but yeah, anyway, super abrasive. Josh Ibbott, who'd spent 4 days racing or riding around beforehand, toasted his brakes on the first night, just completely went through the pads, was grinding down his discs, and so that put him out of the race. However, I don't take spare pads. I always run sintered pads because they last super long.
Sorry, what do you call them again? Sintered.
Sintered. So there's Generally, there's two kinds of brake pads. There's sintered and organic. The only sintered just have a much higher metallic content, so they last longer and they're much better with heat buildup, which living in Dubai is quite important. But they'll last. I'll get 6,000-7,000 kilometers out of a set of sintered pads on the front. So I just change them before an important race, and I am not going to go through. Doesn't matter how terrible it is. I fitted a new set just before Rwanda, and they were fine. And they've still got, they did 1,000k in Rwanda in terrible conditions, and they've still got another 4,000 or 5,000k in them. So I don't necessarily. But having said what we were saying about earlier, brake pads take like 2 seconds to change. It's really easy. The easiest things in the world to change. You don't need to fiddle around like caliper brakes. And they weigh 20 grams. So to be honest, if I look at my previous comments, there's no reason why I shouldn't take them, Simon.
I've taken on the Inca Divide. I changed my brake pads a few days in, and that I'm glad I did, because it was just I never really needed to do it, but that was just one time that I think it should be done. Going back to what you said about spokes, actually, here's an interesting fact that I got told. So I have never changed a spoke. I actually genuinely don't know how to. I've never even bothered learning. I've only ever broken one spoke, and that was on quite an old set of wheels I had. And honestly, I've been using those Durace wheels for a long, long time, and I've never trued them. They've never needed truing. I think we're at a point where wheels have so much quality to them now, and they go through. Do you know what rigorous testing wheels go through? But basically, it's like 10,000k with 130 kilo on, banging into, imagine like that you're hitting a pothole, and this is done again and again and again and again. And if they don't pass that 10,000k, then they don't go into production. So wheels these days are tested so aggressively to be good that I think, in my opinion, I just don't carry spokes, because even if I did break a spoke, I'd wrap it, but I wouldn't know how to fix it. And if I did fix it myself, I'd spend the whole time worrying that I'd fixed it wrong. So, I
think the reason for carrying spokes is not that so you can fit it yourself. It's so that if you do break a spoke, when you get to a shop, you've got the right length of spoke. Yeah, because if you go to a shop, there's so many different lengths of spokes, and this is kind of what Stephen then gets onto when he says, "Would you have the right length of spokes for a shop to fit?" And that's the key. Is shop might go, "I don't have those. I'm going to order them in. That'll be a week. That'll be whatever." Like I was getting a wheel built up, and took the hub and the rim into my local bike shop, and they measured it up, and they went to Pillar to get the spokes, and they said, "Oh, we don't have any in stock. We need to wait until we've drawn new spokes off the spoke machine. Like we made some more." So, there is that. A question from Alex. We're talking about mistakes during the race, but have you made a mistake in preparation or route planning that ruined a race or made it harder than it should have been?
Many times. Many times.
After you, Robbie.
So obviously I was really inexperienced for years, and I never had really anyone in the ultra cycling community. For my first 3 years, I didn't talk to any other ultra cyclists. I went for my first TCR, and I routed absolutely in the middle of nowhere. Nobody went on the roads I was going on. I ended up doing some really big climbs that I didn't need to do, and that on top of it, I went on some pretty stupid roads I shouldn't have gone on, and there was a lot more going on of why I scratched from that, but that didn't help. But stuff like self-planning has been terrible for me. I've gone up some ridiculous climbs, I've gone on some real stupid roads just due to preparing crap routes, because routing isn't easy. Like, I struggle. That's one thing I really struggle with, and this is why I probably very rarely ever go into a race. The only race that I think I'll ever do now where you have to plan your own route is the Japanese Odyssey, because that is just one that I'm really passionate about. But stuff like TCR, I'd never go back because if you're planning your own routes, and I'm going to say this, and I don't really mind who hears this, like, but I really adore TCR. I adore the ethos of the race. I adore where it came from. But I think if you want to do well in that race, you have to take some real stupid risks and go onto real crappy roads. Like, I'm sorry, like, if you want my honest opinion. So, and like, if you don't go on those crappy, risky roads, you end up going up big mountains. But yes, many times I've planned silly routes, looked on track leaders, and seen everyone else doing other stuff, and then it's completely messed my head up. And yeah, so I probably many a times, but I think everyone does. But from now on, I'll probably 90% of my races will all be set route, and then the only unplanned, the one where you get to pick your own route I'd ever do is probably the Japanese Odyssey, just because that's one that's always been up here. That God, I'd love to do that race. So
Yeah, me too.
that's my opinion.
Me too. I think it looks amazing. So I think planning your own route is one of the ultimate tests of being a good ultra racer. How do you plan a fast, efficient, safe route? And I think people generally, you've always got to stick to roads that you're legally allowed to cycle on. I've ridden down the A47 through Norfolk.
That's a bad road.
Laura and I rode down there, and because it's the only way to get from one point to another, and there's no space for cyclists, and that was horrific. So for me, the riding, the routing and the route planning is a really key part of it. But Kai says commuted. We've all been commuted before, haven't we? You're riding along and you're like, this is that term. This is not. I've been commuted many a time. When you tick the worst bit is when you tick the road function and takes you down a track. Although, to be fair to Komoot, this is not... Komoot go on the information that's in OpenStreetMaps, which we all have the ability to contribute
access to.
So, not just access to, but the ability to contribute to. So, when you do that, go in, flag it as unrideable, and you should be good. I don't think I've made any big howlers in preparation. I have made some howlers in terms of just forgetting stuff. This is probably, with the exception of one more, I've got one more to come after this. Just forgetting stuff. Twice I've done this. So going to Biking Man Portugal last year, I arrived. So I flew into Lisbon. I rode down from Lisbon to the start over 2 days, got to the hotel the first night that I was staying in, and I realised I'd forgotten all of my charging cables. Disastrous. Luckily Omar had not flown in yet from Dubai, so I just sent him an urgent message going, can you get me this and this, which he did, and that kind of saved my race. But I just completely forgot, and I've left things behind during a race, and so I now have. I have a checklist that I use before a race. I don't know why I forgot.
Do you have stuff clipped onto your belt on a little bit of an elastic string?
I have my cycling gloves do have elastic, and I kind of thread it through my jacket. Like when you're a kid, and they kind of bounce around here, so you don't lose them. No, I have a checklist, but I've got to the point now actually where I check my checklist before I leave the hotel, and before I start riding, because I've left things in hotels before whilst I'm riding. So I left a load of cables behind. And then on race around Rwanda, I forgot contact lenses. So I had to wear my glasses.
Not ideal.
Which they were brand new, which wasn't great. So always check and carry things.
Actually, I've got another mistake. 2 more mistakes.
Right.
Actually,
You got 2 more mistakes, have you? Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, hit me with your next one.
One thing you actually got me to make a better habit, and it's only the past 2 months that I've been doing this, wearing sunglasses. Never used to wear them. Never ever used to wear them. They used to annoy me. Now I'm in the habit of wearing sunglasses because I didn't realise how bad it was for your eyes to be riding out all day in heavy sun. So I started wearing sunglasses.
And suntan cream?
Yeah, really well. you probably can't tell, but yeah, suntan cream. Like,
Best
not
tip on some
pissed about. You've got an amazing tip on this, and this is what I do all the time, thanks to you.
Yep. Well, it's actually thanks
I'll
to
let you
Rhonda,
say.
who's through in the kitchen there, who's a
Is she?
dermatologist, gave me this advice. When you put suntan cream on day one, put 3 layers on. So put a layer of suntan cream on, let it dry for 5 minutes, put another layer on, let it dry for 5 minutes, and then put a third layer on. And that will get you through 12, that'll get you through the first day without needing to worry too much about it. It makes such a difference. Because you get sunburn on day one, then it's not just the kind of long-term cancer risk, but it's the pain of I'm sunburned and it hurts. So 3 layers.
The amount of
3
people
layers,
that
it works.
scratch from races because of sunstroke. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So
many
on
people scratch
TCR, like TCR, I stayed in hotels every night, even if it was for like 3 hours, 2 hours, whatever. But as soon as I woke up, the first thing I'd do would be to put suntan cream on, because then by the time I put everything else on and packed my bags, it would have dried, and then I could put a second layer onto my arms and legs and face. Works really well.
Yeah.
Works really, really well.
Yeah, that's kind of the only other mistake.
Well, hit us with your and yes, Gavin. Names in the back of jerseys. No, I don't do that. Right. Although I have left a jersey behind in a hotel before. Right. Come on. You got 2 to go. No, that was just your second, wasn't it? That was your first of 2. Right. Okay. Actually, so
I've got a really odd one that I've made the mistake twice actually. I've started. Do you know Christophe Allagart? Who doesn't know Christophe Allagart? He's a very, very extremely good ultra racer who hasn't really been racing the last couple of years, has he? Let's be fair. And I met him before TCR once, and like I said to you back then, there was other stuff going on with this TCR number 5, which I won't go into because it's quite sad. And I said to him, I got chatting to him, really nice guy, and I said to him, there's a few things, background going on outside of this race, and he just said, if your heart's not in it, there's no point even starting. And he was right, actually. Like, honestly, if you've got a million other things going on, like, you have to be really focused on that race. Like, there's no point going in, never go into a race half-heartedly. This will be easy. Go in 100% every time. Really, if you haven't made the effort to train or have got a crap setup that you haven't really thought through, don't even start. Like, I know that's terrible advice, but if I could go back to 2 of my trips in the past and said, don't even bother starting because you know in your head it's not right, then I probably would have turned around and gone, actually, fair play. You know what I mean? Which is good. It's true.
It's good advice.
Really commit to everything that you do, because if not, you're going to go through hell. That's the nicest thing to say.
Okay, my last mistake, and we got a good one from Carl down below about riding in his flip-flops, which I'll just leave up there for now. The last mistake I want to talk about today is one I did in Taiwan. Don't take a 100 milligram piece of caffeine chewing gum and then 20 minutes later decide you want to have a nap or you want to sleep.
That.
I do not know what was going through my head, but it was like 10 o'clock at night. I was kind of riding. I was back and forth with Xavier and Rodrigo, and I was convinced I was going to push on through the night. So I took some caffeine chewing gum, and then 20 minutes later, I was like, I have to stop, and so I stopped. I found like a guest house, checked in. Went up to my room and got into bed, and literally half an hour later I'm wide awake, like my eyes are wide open, my heart's hammering away because of all the caffeine that I've just taken, and I just lay there staring at the ceiling for 2 hours or an hour, I don't know, it was miserable, staring at the ceiling with my heart going hammer and tongs, and then got up, got dressed, decided this is ridiculous, I'm going to carry on riding. Got up, got dressed, and as I was coming out, you came in the door.
Yes, I didn't realise that was then.
Yeah, that was then.
Yeah, because I remember getting there very tired and thinking, what's Niel doing behind the reception of a guest house? And then you were
going
like,
out
Rob.
Because I was trying to sleep with caffeine pumping around my system.
Actually, I've done the same, but in a bit of a worse way. When I was racing once, I knew that I could finish in about 6 to 7 hours because I was about 100 miles from the finish. And I thought, okay, it's 9 o'clock at night. And I had only really slept probably about 5, 6 hours over the past uh, 2 days. And I decided it would be a good idea to have some Pro Plus because I started to get a little bit on the bike, and that didn't really touch the sides. So 10, 15 minutes after I'd had this Pro Plus, I was like, it's not working. So I decided to have some pre-workout. If you've ever had this before, I don't recommend this, but I did take some pre-workout as an emergency. So this is what people in the gym have. It's really heavy caffeinated like energy drink, just to really get the best out of your workout. And I had one of these, and this is the equivalent to sinking like 7 cans of Red Bull, like in one go. So I had one of these, boom, had that, and then I still kept was like nothing's touching the sides. I went to McDonald's and I ordered a coffee, and I remember sitting down, and my hands were just shaking, and I was like, I can't work out if I'm shaking because of the cold or the caffeine. So anyway, I got back on the bike because I just had too much energy, and I eventually got to the finish line, and I thought my heart was going to explode because it was just like this. It was the most awful
I'm not
feeling.
surprised.
Like, and do you know what the worst thing was? I finished the race, and I went to a hotel to sleep, and I couldn't sleep. I was awake for 8 hours after a race when I'd finished at like 3 in the morning, and my dad put me on a ferry later this day, and he goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I just want to sleep, Dad. I just want to sleep." And I was so distraught, like because I'd had so much caffeine, and I just couldn't sleep. And it's like honestly, let it sink in, let your caffeine sink in, like just take it at the right time, like and
There we
don't
go.
take pre-workout. It's not going to do you any favors, like it really
Right.
isn't. But yeah.
Was that it? Was there one more, Robbie?
No, I'm done. I'm done. I think I've got about 50 more mistakes, but they're the ones I wanted to talk about today.
Awesome. Right. Well, yeah, mistakes. We've all made them, and the best thing is that you learn from them and you don't do them again. You carry spare hangers, and you know what you're buying when you go into shops. You remember to pack your contact lenses and your charging cables before you leave the house, and you certainly don't take pre-workout on top of caffeine chewing gum. On top of a can of Red Bull.
Mm.
Right, well, look, thank you everybody for listening. If you have been watching this, not live, but afterwards, then do comment below. And if you love what we're doing here, if you love what I'm doing on my YouTube channel, then click on subscribe. I've got 380 subscribers left to go before I hit that magical 1,000
Come
mark,
on,
which
guys.
means I can do live broadcasting through YouTube. And also go check out Robbie's YouTube channel. Robbie is starting to up his content game
Yeah.
and doing
And quality.
lots of YouTube videos with terrible advice in them.
Yeah.
But they're funny.
There's certain things me. Yeah, they
And
are
he's
funny. Like,
he's
but
at least on his YouTube videos, he's not lounging around on his bike or lounging around in his bed
oh,
like he is doing right now. So
oh,
he's starting to
actually,
he's starting to
can
look a little bit more pro.
I'm going to tell you all a secret on the channel. So me and my partner, we rent this house at the minute, 2-bed house, which just like has no space, like hence the turbos in the spare room, hence a bit of a nightmare. But we are moving soon to a place where I will have the most amazing space to do actually have a nice place to sit down and do this. But at the minute, it's just that everything that the government is saying this can't go through because of COVID. So like we are in this house surrounded by boxes, like waiting to move, which is a bit of a pain, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
So yeah,
well,
so
there we go.
soon
Right.
there will be nicer
Thank you,
space.
everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Gavin. I'm glad we kept you from your work. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Kai.
Thank you,
Guys,
thank you for listening,
girls,
guys.
everybody, thank you for listening. And we will catch you next week when I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week. So Who knows?
Yeah.
Could be anything. You want to see us cover a particular topic, leave the comments below, comment on the Facebook page or on the Instagram page. We will see you all next week with more interesting stories from the ultra cycling world. Catch you later, everybody. Have a good weekend.
See you later, guys.
Can't work my mouse. I've lost my mouse. Where is it?
Oh,
there it is.
You've lost the mouse.
Oh, it had gone onto the screen behind me. Bye.